For weeks, fans have been counting down the days, eagerly waiting for Jimin and Jungkook to meet again. The two BTS members, known for their close bond, had been apart due to Jungkook's military service. But when the long-awaited moment finally arrived, something unexpected happened, something that no one saw coming. Jungkook had met someone at the military camp, and whatever happened during that meeting was enough to make Taehyung, one of their closest friends, genuinely concerned. What really happened? Who did Jungkook meet? And why does Taehyung seem so unsettled by it? Jimin had spent weeks anticipating this moment. While Jungkook was away in the military, Jimin had thrown himself into his own work, focusing on music, projects, and solo schedules. But no matter how busy he was, his thoughts always drifted to Jungkook. They had spent years together, growing up in the spotlight as part of BTS. Their friendship was deep, layered with memories, laughter, and unspoken understanding. When the day finally arrived for them to meet again, Jimin was filled with excitement and relief. He imagined the reunion to be warm, emotional, maybe even tearful. But instead, something was different. Jungkook looked the same but carried a different energy. There was something unreadable in his expression, a distance that Jimin had never felt before. Had military life changed him? Or was it something else? It was only later that Jimin discovered the truth. Jungkook had met someone at IT. Wasn't just a casual encounter with a fellow soldier. Whoever this person was, they had left a mark on him. So much so that Jungkook seemed lost in thought, his mind elsewhere. Even in the midst of their long-awaited reunion, Jimin tried to push down the strange feeling growing in his chest. Jealousy? Worry? He wasn't sure. He only knew that Jungkook wasn't fully present, and it hurt. Taehyung noticed it too. Always perceptive, always protective of his friends, Taehyung pulled Jimin aside when he saw the troubled look on his face. "Did something happen?" Taehyung asked, voice low. Jimin hesitated before answering. "I don't know. He's different." Taehyung frowned. He had his own worries about Jungkook's military experience, but now, hearing Jimin's concerns, a deeper sense of unease settled over him. "Who did he meet?" Taehyung finally asked. That was the question haunting Jimin, and he needed answers. Determined to understand, Jimin decided to ask Jungkook directly. That night, as they sat together, he carefully brought it up. "You met someone at the camp," Jimin said, trying to keep his tone light. "You haven't stopped thinking about it, have you?" Jungkook's reaction was immediate. His eyes flickered with something unreadable. Shock, guilt, hesitation. Then he looked away. "I did," Jungkook admitted after a long pause. "It was unexpected." Jimin leaned in, heart pounding. "Who was it?" For a moment, Jungkook didn't answer. The air between them was heavy with unspoken words. Then finally Jungkook sighed. "It was someone from my past." Jimin's breath caught. His mind raced through possibilities. An old friend? A past acquaintance? Or someone else? Jimin wasn't the only one struggling with Jungkook's strange behavior. Taehyung had been keeping a close eye on both of them, especially after noticing the tension in Jimin's face. Jungkook was usually the most open-hearted among them, but now he seemed closed off, guarded. Taehyung had never seen him like this before. And that worried him. What had happened in that military camp? Who had Jungkook met that changed him so much? Taehyung had a bad feeling, but he didn't want to jump to conclusions. Instead, he decided to talk to Jungkook himself. "You know you can tell us anything, right?" Taehyung said one evening, carefully choosing his words. "Whatever happened at the camp, you don't have to keep it to yourself." Jungkook hesitated again. That same unreadable look flashed across his face. "I know," Jungkook said quietly. "But I need time." Time. That was the only thing he asked for. But for Jimin and Taehyung, time was only making the mystery grow. Days passed, but Jungkook remained distant. Jimin tried not to push him, but the worry gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had happened at that military camp had changed something between them. Then one night, everything changed. Jungkook finally spoke. "I saw someone I thought I'd never see again," he admitted. His voice was heavy, his expression a mix of emotions Jimin couldn't quite decipher. Jimin's heart pounded. "Who?" Jungkook took a deep breath. And then he said a name. Jimin's world tilted. It was a name he hadn't heard in years. A name tied to memories that he thought had long been buried. A name that explained everything: the distance, the hesitation, the emotional turmoil Jungkook had been trapped in. And just like that, Jimin understood why Taehyung had been so worried. Because some people from the past don't just return, they bring chaos with them. What happens when two of the closest friends in the world are separated for months, only to reunite under circumstances neither of them expected? What if one of them has changed in ways the other cannot comprehend? And why is Taehyung, usually the calm and composed one, suddenly filled with unease? The long-anticipated reunion between BTS's Jimin and Jungkook has finally taken place, but it wasn't the tearful, joyful moment fans had envisioned. Instead, it was filled with tension, unspoken words, and a sense of distance neither of them could quite explain. The reason? Someone unknown, had met Jungkook before Jimin did. And whatever was said, whatever transpired in that encounter, had shifted the energy between them. For months, armies had counted down the days, waiting for the moment when Jimin and Jungkook would see each other again. Ever since Jungkook enlisted for his mandatory military service, there had been a void, a noticeable absence in the dynamic that once thrived between them. Jimin, despite his usual bright and resilient personality, had visibly felt the weight of Jungkook's absence. But now that they were finally standing face to face again, something was different. Jimin's eyes searched Jungkook's face, hoping to find familiarity. Instead, he saw hesitation. "Who did you meet?" Jimin's voice was barely above a whisper, but the question held so much weight. Jungkook glanced away, his jaw tightening for just a second before he let out a soft sigh. "It's nothing, Hyung. Nothing." The word echoed in Jimin's mind, but it didn't feel like nothing. The shift in Jungkook's demeanor, the way his eyes carried something unspoken, it was everything. And Taehyung? He saw it too. Before Jimin had arrived, Jungkook had met someone at his military base. No one knew who, no one knew why, and most importantly, no one knew what was said during that meeting. Even Jungkook himself seemed unsure of how to explain it. Who was this person? A fellow soldier? An old friend? Someone from their past? Or perhaps, someone completely unexpected? Speculations ran wild as armies tried to piece together any clues they could find. Theories ranged from a past acquaintance to a mysterious figure who had information that changed Jungkook's perspective on something. But the biggest question remained: why had this meeting affected Jungkook so much that it altered the way he responded to Jimin? When Taehyung finally joined them, his usually relaxed demeanor was gone. His eyes flickered between Jimin and Jungkook, his worry evident. "What's going on?" Taehyung's voice was firm, but there was a softness beneath it, concern. Neither Jimin nor Jungkook had an answer. Jimin had always understood Jungkook in ways few others could. They had shared laughter, tears, late-night conversations, and dreams too big for the world to contain. But at that moment, it felt as if Jungkook had built an invisible wall between them. And the most painful part? Jimin wasn't sure if he could break through. "Tell me what's wrong," Jimin finally said, his voice steady but his heart racing. Jungkook hesitated. "I just need time. Need time." Those two words stung more than Jimin expected. Because if there was one thing he thought they would never need between them, it was time. Taehyung, standing beside them, exhaled slowly. "You're not saying everything, Jungkook. I can see it." A beat of silence. Jungkook clenched his fists before finally meeting their eyes. And what he said next changed everything. Jimin's breath hitched. Taehyung's face turned serious. What did Jungkook mean? What had that meeting been about? And why did it feel like nothing would ever be the same again?